Hey, welcome to the 10-minute live spark.
Let's get it sparked in here.
Sparked in here.
Let's get it sparked in here. Get it sparked in here. Let's
Let's
get it
get it
sparked in
sparked in
here.
here.
Let's get it sparked
That's
in
my theme
here.
room,
Let's
my
get it
theme
sparked
song.
in here.
Could you imagine coming to your school
Let's
and
get it
just hearing
sparked
that on
in
the
here.
intercom
Oh, let's get it
or right
sparked
before
in
you had a
here.
professional
Get
development?
it sparked,
They
get it
start
sparked.
that.
Whoa,
Because really, at the end of the
let's
day,
get it sparked.
what is to spark anyway? Really, at the end of the day, to get it sparked is really to just start thinking. And once you start thinking, it's like you wake up, your brain is activated. So, hello, everyone. Welcome to the 10-minute live spark. I'm so glad you are here today. If you are just joining, I would love to get any feedback that you gain out of this program because I love knowing who's in the room with me and whether I am bringing value to those who check in. So, today we're talking about something that I think about a lot, and honestly, something that I do not think we talk about enough in schools. I've been doing a lot of research lately on teachers' psychological safety, on how teachers learn, professional development. And I just kind of came to a conclusion the other day, the tension between evaluation and professional growth. So, because here's the thing, we need both of them. Evaluations matter, growth matters, but somewhere along the way, most schools started doing both in the same room at the same time with the same people. And I want to talk about why that is one of the most expensive mistakes. Let me say that again, expensive mistakes we are making in education right now, and what balance actually looks like. Because I have been imagining what it would look like to be evaluated, but then what does it look like to feel like I'm growing professionally in my school, in my work environment? So, I really want us to put our thinking caps on evaluation, professional growth. How can we make them look? So let me paint a picture, and I want to tell you, and I want you to tell me if any of this sounds familiar. A principal walks into a classroom with a clipboard or a tablet. The teacher sees them come in, and immediately something shifts. The teacher stands up a little straighter, maybe changes what they were doing, maybe gets a little nervous. The students feel it too because they feel like, oh, here comes the show. And at the end of the observation, the principal sits down with the teacher and says something like, here is what I saw. Here is what you need to work on, and here is your score. Here is your feedback. Now, I want to ask you in that moment, is that teacher growing or is that teacher performing? Because there are two completely different things. Performance says, I need to look good right now. Growth says, I am willing to try something that might not work yet. And the research is really clear on this. Anthony and Barbara Snyder spent years studying what actually moves schools forward. And what they found out was that relational trust, the kind of trust where a teacher believes that her principal is genuinely invested in their growth, is the single most powerful condition for improvement. So when that trust is gone, when the observation feels like a test rather than a conversation, teachers stop taking risks. They stop trying new things. And the initiative you launched last August, the one you were so hopeful about, it fades by October, early November. And then we're thinking about vacation. Not because teachers don't care, because the structure made it unsafe to practice something new. That's a lot to sit with. Like I said, I'm going back to that research of you being invested in their growth. Um, so let me give you the distinction I think every school leader needs to really internalize. Evaluations ask one question: how is this teacher performing against a standard? Development asks a completely different question: how is this teacher growing towards something better? And here is the thing: those two questions require completely different conditions. Evaluation requires judgment, it requires documentation, it requires a standard that someone is being measured against. Remember, that's the whole purpose of an evaluation, to measure you against a standard. And there is a place for that because we need that kind of feedback. We're getting paid for a job. We definitely need to be evaluated. And I'm not saying evaluation should not exist, but development, the ability to take risks and to try something new and to push yourself to a greater height, that requires some psychological safety. It requires a place where a teacher can say, I tried this and it didn't work. And the response is curiosity, not a consequence. So many classrooms, the teachers are so scared. They just want to cover the content. They want to meet all the checklists and they don't want to try too many new things because they're afraid, am I going to be judged for it if it doesn't work? And most schools have been trying to have both conversations in the same room at the same time. And when you do that, you lose both. Because the moment a teacher knows they are being evaluated, the growth conversation is over. They are in self protection mode, and you cannot learn in self protection mode. I talk to teachers all the time who say, I would love to try something new in my classroom, but if I try it and it doesn't work, it is going in my observation notes. We don't really have that much time because we need to cover everything in our curriculum. That is not a teacher problem. That, to me, is a system problem. The system was never designed to hold both conversations well. It was designed to document performance. And then we ask it to produce growth at the same time. And those two things are in direct conflict. I mean, I really been thinking about this a lot. So what does balance actually look like? Mm. What does this look like? Balance does not mean evaluating less. It means separating the two conversations clearly, giving evaluation its lane and giving development its own completely separate lanes. And in the development lane, the rules are different. Okay, the observations are anonymous. You don't keep track of what teachers you're going in there just to observe. The data is about student patterns, not teacher performance, because the performance is focused on the evaluation. The conversation is about what are we trying together, not what any individual did wrong. And when teachers experience development in that separate lane, something remarkable can happen. Again, we're cultivating this growth mindset. That means we're doing it as a team. That's why the observations are anonymous, because we're collecting team data and looking at how is the team growing. That is going to help the administrators to focus on not the performance, to focus on the development of the team, because we put it in a different lane. We put it in this development lane versus in this evaluation lane. And I'm telling you, teachers are going to start trying new things. They will start bringing their real questions to the table, and they will start feeling like professionals, not like they are being monitored. So, boy, our time is going by so fast today. This is really a deep topic. I might have to create another part to it, but let's get very practical. This is where I really want you to put your thinking cap. So, what does this actually look like in a school? Here is a simple framework I want to leave with you today. First, name the lane out loud. When you walk into a classroom for an evaluation, um, say so. When you walk into a room for a development observation, say so. Teachers should never have to guess which one is happening. And that ambiguity alone creates, anxiety. That shuts down risk taking. Second thing is in the development lane, change what you are looking for. Don't look for the things those standards. Stop looking at what the teacher is doing. Start looking at what students are doing. Are they explaining their thinking? Are they confused in ways that are productive? Are they engaging with the practice the team chose together? And when the observation is about student patterns and not teacher performance, the whole energy of the room changes. Wherever attention goes, energy flows. So, since we put the attention on the students and what they're learning and not on me individually, now you have my attention. Now I can really ask questions and I can be more curious. The teacher is not being watched, the learning is being watched. And that is a completely different experience. Third, bring the development data back to the team, not the individual. One of the most powerful shifts you can make is moving from I observed your classroom and here's what I saw to our team observed across 6 classrooms this week. And here's the pattern we noticed. People keep talking about AI, but AI is going to help us in identifying those patterns and getting teams to work better, faster, and quicker. No names, no individual feedback, just patterns. And suddenly the conversation is about all of us working on something together instead of one person being singled out because no one likes that. That affects the whole energy of the students that teacher is teaching and the culture we're trying to develop at this school. And I know some of you are thinking this sounds good in theory, Olivia, but how do I actually build this in my school? How do I create the structure that holds this? Now, this is exactly what we built the Lead Spark team to do a repeatable improvement cycle where development has its own lane. I almost call it like the sandbox where you can try stuff. It's anonymous. We're building confidence and we're learning together as a team. Anonymous observations, team based reflection, and a principal facilitation system that works without content expertise. But even if you're not using a platform, you can start with the framework today. Name the lane, change what you observe, and bring it back, not to the individual, but to the team. We're going to bring it back to the team. I told you this was kind of this is something that I think we need to talk more about evaluation, developing growth. I want to leave you with one thought before we close. The teachers in your building are not afraid of growing. They are afraid of being caught in the middle of growing before they are good at it yet and having that moment used against them. That's really where the fear is. That fear is costing your school more than you realize. It is costing you the teacher who would have tried something extraordinary if he or she felt safe. The principal who would have facilitated a more honest PLC if he or she was not worried about how it would look. And the team that would have chosen a harder practice if they trusted that not getting it right immediately was okay. Safety is not soft. Safety is the precondition for everything we are actually trying to build. So, the question I want you to sit with this week is this. This is the question I really want you to think about. In your school, does development have its own lane, or do your teachers know it? So, does development have its own lane, and do your teachers know it? That's the question I want to leave with you. All right. I appreciate the extra time. I always like to close my 10-minute live spark with a song from Fearless Educator Radio because I believe that the work we do in schools is deeply human, and human beings, we need music. This one is for this one actually touches me. I almost cried when I was making this song because I think learning should feel wonderful. It should motivate you to want to do more, to learn more, to go beyond what your curriculum provides for students. But it also should be something teachers want because teachers are learners too. And the question is, how are we helping them to learn like that? So, this song is called I Like to Learn Like That. Um, and I'm going to go ahead and play it. And then we're just going to listen to it for a while. Thank you for being here today. If this conversation resonated with you, share it with a colleague who needs to hear it. Drop a comment and let me know.
We walking
Does
deep,
your school
yeah, the whole
separate
squad lit. Every
evaluation from
mind got
development?
power.
Oops, I'm sorry. I pressed the wrong button.
We built like this, different views, same goal. We align real quick, turn a thought to a spark. Now it's boom, now it's boom. That's it. We ain't scared to disagree. We just build it up, turn a thought into a spark. Now we light it up. Say my name, respect. Yeah. Ask me, then I step. Okay. Speak up, no stress. No stress. We rise, that's next. I like to learn like that. We lift each other up. I like to learn like that. Failure is not fear. No fear. I like to learn like that. Don't trap, don't step. I like to learn like that. We show up to grow. Let's go. I like to learn like that. Name on my lips when they call on me. Can I share? Yeah, that respect, feel free. Got
I made this for students, but it can be for us. I like to learn like that. I want us to grow. We're trying to go to the top. And if you want to keep this conversation going, come find us at app.leadsparkteam.com. Remember, you are a fearless educator, and do not forget that. I will see you next Wednesday when we bring on a wonderful, wonderful principal out of Ohio who's going to share with us some gems on how to spark curiosity with your teaching staff. See you next Wednesday.